Good evening. Today is the 12th day of January 2017, and we continue with our series, Explorations in Savitri, with our brother Alok. We are in Book 2, the Book of the Traveler of the Worlds, Canto 6, Kingdoms and Godheads of the Greater Life. And we are now towards the bottom of page 188.
So as we can see that Sri Aurobindo is taking us through a whole exploration of different worlds, of which one of the most fascinatingly complex world is the vital. Mystics have been familiar with this world. Some, mystics, at least Kabir and Guru Nanak, they mention about these worlds in the passing. And they say that there are many, many beautiful, splendorous gardens and palaces in the boundless kingdom of the Lord. I think something like that. Christ also says when he says there are many mansions in the house of my Lord. So these worlds have been known, but they have not been described in detail because traditional mystic experience has been to escape from all confines of form and the manifested creation into the unmanifest and the formless. So the method they adopt is, regardless of anything, don't focus on all these experiences as you go through these visions and voices and many, many kinds of experiences that naturally arise. And there is no doubt that a sadhak can never be enough on caution against the onslaught of this world or the experiences of this world, which come not only as visions and voices but as suggestions. As I said, suggestions that one is a yogi, suggestions that one is an instrument, suggestions of all kinds. And very often these suggestions also carry a kernel of truth in it, so that makes it even more complex. So, Buddha was well aware of these things. So his method was just disregard them all as illusions. So right from the physical world, right up to the higher mental worlds, they were all illusions. Till you eventually got out of this entire gamut of creation into the permanent. But because Buddha had gone through these experiences, it's very interesting that post-Buddhism, in fact, even while Buddha was still there in the physical body, Mother says that a religion had begun to form around him, which divided itself into two sects. So one was the Hinayana Buddhism, which follows this line that, Hin, the little vehicle, where you don't talk about all the entire complexity and richness of creation and the variety of experiences and focus only on nothingness. Whereas there was another Buddhism, which is Mahayana Buddhism. If you read Mahayana Buddhism, it sounds like Hinduism with so many gods, goddesses, and titans and all kinds of energies. And Tibetan Buddhism derives a lot from that, and a lot of occultism, because they focus on the many-sidedness of the creative spirit. So depending on which way one looks at it, but in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, because the goal is world transformation, you cannot escape at least a working knowledge of world forces. And not only working knowledge, to some extent even an occult understanding. If not, we are not practitioners of occultism, unless to some people it comes naturally. But still we must understand the occult design behind this world. Not only so that we are not lost, but also we can understand the play.
But only Sri Aurobindo could describe it in detail.
So now we see in the next maybe 1.5 or 2 pages, or maybe 3 pages, Sri Aurobindo gives us, as if in a summary, this whole world with its many, many facets. And the beauty is that as you go through these passages, which I always feel that, Sri Aurobindo actually brings the picture alive.
Yes.
It looks like plenty of things are happening here. And they are taking plenty of forms. And that's what we will see. Page 188. As one who spells illumined characters. As one who spells illumined characters. The key book of a crabbed magician text. He scanned her subtle, tangled, weird designs and the screen difficult theorem of her clues.
Now that's very interesting because we're going to see a lot of words in this coming passage.
Which actually relate, if you look at it closely, to magic.
Yes.
So
and crabbed, you see, crabbed is shaky, almost illegible, unreadable, cramped style.
It also gives an impression of, as if these words have been deliberately, or the letters have been deliberately blended into each other. You see, when you see many of these occult diagrams, so you will see in these occult diagrams of ancient times, you will see that there are certain geometric designs, and in each design there would be a letter. Now, now what is not mentioned is how you are supposed to read them, in what order, and what they really mean. That is hidden from the non-initiate. And only those who are initiate, they are given this, these diagrams and the deeper understanding. When Satprem was practicing occultism with Pandit Neelkant Shastri, once he was told that you make this particular diagram and you have to do this particular mantra to invoke Mahalakshmi.
So many times.
So many times, yes, so many times. And it was a whole diagram, and mother asked him to tell in details. So, he says in details, and he says, these are all nonsensical words, they don't make any sense to me, and I have to recite them so many times. Some of these mantras of this, which invoke these deities, they make no sense. Om, Him, Kling, Bring, they don't make any sense. Shubhendra has even made a little humorous aside to it when he tells Nirodharan, when he had a boil, he says, you have to tell a particular mantra, Om, Tat, 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 Tat. So Nirodha did it very seriously. And he says, by the way, I am trying your mantra, but it is having no effect. So he says, no, you can't do it just like this. There is a process to do it. And the process is you have to say it so many times in the presence of 4 Brahmins who don't have a pot belly and are free of all sex thoughts. So, the Lord's ways of in one stroke showing many things. So it's so interesting, these occult patterns, they are practiced. You have Sri Chakras and many of these, and they actually try to invoke and capture the deities in these patterns. But what they succeed is not in the real thing, because you cannot capture the real truth, but in some reflection of that. Like there are many Kalis on the vital plane, and you can capture some of these and, make them do your wish, but not the real Mahakali, because she escapes all pattern and design. So here, this crabbed magician text, traced in the monstrous sands of desert time, the thread beginnings of a titan works, watched her charade of action for some hint. So, this the whole procession, and you have to understand what it really means. And many of the dreams in the vital world are like this. And you have to see them and decipher. You have to look for some clue. Sometimes the clue is in some person. And that person is not important, but the name is. At least I have seen in my dreams, and many other persons I have noticed that the clue lies, in the name of the person. So the name of the person stands for something, and the vital world use that part and throw up a whole image. Now you have a clue, but if you take it's that person, then you are grossly misled. These are very different dreams from the higher mental worlds, where the symbol is far more clear. So these are read the no gestures of her silhouettes and strove to capture in their burdened drift the dance-fantasia of her sequence, escaping into rhythmic mystery, a glimmer of fugitive feet on fleeing soil.
Now, these no gestures.
Yes.
This Sri Aurobindo uses these words to convey something to us. The no gesture is a classical Japanese drama, performed on a bare stage with beautiful costumes, and these are certain gestures that are made.
Yes.
So interesting. No gestures of her silhouettes.
Yes. You have to decipher from that
Yeah.
the real sense which is behind. And it plays, and they come and vanish.
Yeah.
All kinds of things. And beautiful lines, escaping the dance-fantasia of her sequences, escaping into rhythmic mystery, a glimmer of fugitive feet on fleeing soil. So the whole stage itself is ever changing, as if there is a massive light and sound show, and the color changes, the stage changes, everything changes. And forms change, their draperies change. So this is how the vital world is. In the labyrinth pattern of her thoughts and hopes, and the byways of her intimate desires, in the complex corners crowded with her dreams, and rounds crossed by an intrigue of irrelevant rounds. Doodling.
Yeah.
It reminds you of doodling. Rounds with rounds and, meaningless rounds, irrelevant rounds. A wanderer straying amid fugitive scenes, he lost its signs and chased each failing guess. So there is something and he wants to catch it and then he loses it. It's like, you're trying to pick up one end of the thread and reach the other. And you're getting lost in the way. Like those mazes, which,
Yes.
you're in. Very, very complex mazes. So you try and you suddenly reach a block. You come back. You take up another trail. So that is how this world is. Ever he met keywords ignorant of their key. You have the classical computer ignorant of their key. A sun that dazzled its own eye of sight. The suns of the vital world are very dazzling. Their splendors are very bright. It's not soothing. It can even hurt or it will try to impress itself. Unlike that sun, which is so full of sweetness, so full of beauty. A luminous enigma's brilliant hood lit the dense purple barrier of thought sky. Now, all these are, of course, what should be in the scene. Skies of the vital world,
Exactly.
sands of the vital world, ground of the vital world, the ambience of the vital world. Everything is being described. A dim large trance showed to the night her stars, as if sitting near an open window's gap. He read by lightning flash on crowding flash chapters of her metaphysical romance, of the soul's search for lost reality, and her fictions drawn from spirit's authentic fact, her caprice and conceits and meanings locked, her rash, unseizable freaks and mystery turns. Classic description of the light and sound shows, if anybody has seen. Lightnings, flash after flash. There is an authentic fact from which it derives, and it tries to recreate a scene which is based partly on facts as they have been received, which are already distorted, and partly on images thrown up by the mind and imaginations and our own conceptions of the whole thing. And we think, it's magnificent.
And these caprices, which are sudden, unexpected changes.
Changes, that's right.
And conceits
Yes.
that twist in the mind.
Yes. So, this is the original light and sound shows. So, the magnificent wrappings of her secrecy, that fold her desirable body out of sight. It's like a gift packed in such wonderful wraps that you don't feel like opening it. And it's hidden. And you open one wrapper and another comes up, equally tantalizing. And so it keeps the truth out of sight. And the wrappings are all around. These strange, significant forms woven on her robe, her meaningful outlines of the souls of things he saw, her false transparencies of thought hue, her rich brocades with imaged fancy sewn, and mutable masks and broiders of disguise. So, truth is wrapped in magnificent colors and richness and brocades and embroidery and paintings.
Yes.
So, ultimately, you end up seeing that and not the truth.
The disguise.
Yeah, the disguise. Because it's so fascinating. 1,000 baffling faces of the truth looked at him from her forms with unknown eyes and wordless mouths unrecognizable, spoke from the figures of her masquerade, or peered from the recondite magnificence and subtle splendor of her draperies. You see, this is a typical, we have these two kinds of temples. One is which are bare, absolutely bare. Like, the famous Shiva temple in Kedarnath or Amarnath. There is nothing, no richness. You just go, it's a journey, and at the end you are face to face with the deity. This is one approach to truth. Another is you see some of these South Indian temples. Even before you enter, you will see so many forms all around. And there will always be some demon with two, horns keeping watch. So it's because everything is included there. It's not that it's that's how these temples were created. You will see some gods, some goddesses outside, and when you go inside, you will see all kinds of paintings and all kinds of images.
It is said that even the sexual acts
Yes,
are displayed in the
yes,
front
yes.
because man has to be over them to enter. Or at least be purified of
that's
them to
one
enter.
explanation. There is another that in that vision of truth, truth is a totality, like in Konark, the sun temple of Konark, where the beauty is that at the end you see the sunlight illumining the deity, is the sun god. But otherwise it's rich with all kinds of images and symbols, as if in that light everything exists simultaneously. And you can stop at any of these images and not go beyond.
And not go beyond, yes.
So it's so rich and fantastic. Sometimes people see all these designs and do not see the real deity. The deity is also draped in all kinds of
The storied temple tower.
Yes.
Yes.
And ultimately the deity is hardly visible or very some small, and you are looking for it and gone. So in sudden scintillations of the unknown, inexpressive sounds became veridical. Ideas that seemed unmeaning flashed out truth. So we were talking about these sounds, particularly in these worlds. You have all these mantras, which are nothing but sound symbols. And each of these sounds expresses a deity or a force or a power.
And became veridical. Became true.
That's true. So that's how these whole world operates.
And see how Sri Aurobindo uses scintillations, flashes, sparks.
Yes.
And then he uses the word flashed.
Yes.
Flashed out.
Voices that came from unseen waiting worlds uttered the syllables of the unmanifest to clothe the body of the mystic word and wizard diagrams of the occult law. All these In Tantra, they are used a lot, all these various forms, geometric figures, and patterns. Jung emphasized a lot on these and he called them mandalas.
Yes.
So, many of these are basically, as I said, any of these experiences in the vital world can create a sect. It has that power. So, you see one side, the geometric patterns, and you can create a sect where you have a sacred letter or a sacred mantra and a sacred design given only to the initiate. You can have plenty of sects purely connected to the vital. And wizard diagrams of the occult law sealed some precise, unreadable harmony, or used hue and figure to reconstitute the herald blazon of time's secret things. Shobinda revealed a lot about magic here. Thankfully, not the details. So, look at this combination hue and figure. So, it's not just the figure, it's a certain combination of shades and light and shadows, and it suddenly comes alive.
Yeah.
So, that's how also it operates. There was a movie, I am forgetting, where, they had a certain pattern and there were 5 elements and there was a 6th element to be found. I think the movie's name was 6th Element. Maybe I'm mistaken. I have forgotten. But it was an interesting and fascinating movie about these kind of worlds where people have to stand on different corners of a certain pattern. And it's not that anybody could stand on any corner. Each person represented something. And that's how it had to be. And Mother, we know, so she was a master in all these things also. And so she would use sometimes these subtle truths. So when Satprem told her about all this, now we connect to this.
Yes.
So she said, he said, it's so difficult to read all this and do this mechanically so many times. So Mother said, actually it's not necessary. She said he believes it to be like this, therefore it is important for him. He said he cannot imagine or cannot conceive that truth can be so simple. Mother spoke about it, that it's not necessary to do it in this way, in so many ways, but this is how the tradition has worked.
And when she meditated with him,
yes, of course.
You remember that? She said he went very high but then stopped.
There was something which he could not, the barrier he could not cross.
Yes.
And he used to always feel that people here, they are not doing yoga because, his idea of yoga was to, wear a certain dress, do a chandan, do puja, spend a lot of time in meditation, etc., etc. So he couldn't understand that what is this yoga going on. Though he, of course, could sense that the Divine Mother is divine. That much good sense he had. Yes. But he couldn't understand the working going on. And when he mentioned this to the Mother simply laughed. And then she said he cannot understand because he is moving in that world.
The herald blazon, coat of arms.
Yes.
Of time's secret things.
Yes.
Wow.
Inner green wildernesses and lurking depths. What a lovely suggestion, lurking depths. You almost, it brings to the eye, something which is, you get a sense it's there. And when you go, you suddenly see, yes.
Almost.
Lurking depths. Inner thickets of joy where danger clasps delight. So, he glimpsed the hidden wings of her songster hopes, a glimmer of blue and gold and scarlet fire. So you see a play of colors, even colors which one can mistake for the supramental, blue and gold and scarlet. I remember, in Delhi, some of us used to study near one of Sri Aurobindo's relics, which were in the open. And they used to have a lot of pranic healing stuff going on.
At the ashram?
Not the ashram, the society center.
Okay.
And the pranic healing stuff were in their own world where, there were some very great people who could do magic and cure and heal. Now that whole movement has collapsed, but that time it was a very big thing. And we were in our own world saying, look at it, in such a wonderful place, what is all this nonsense going on? And one day we overheard a very interesting conversation. Some new entrant had come. So there was a new course going on. You had to pay 2,000 rupees and get enrolled in 2 days prani killing course. Then another was you pay some more money and there was a 10-day course like that. So this was a 2-day course where after the course, they had tea and all. And so one of the new entrants, actually we were sitting there and we couldn't help but overhear the conversation because the teacher and this new student were standing in close, hearing distance. So he says, when I I was doing this pranik, I saw the golden light. He said, yes, you have already arrived at the supermind. And we couldn't help but burst out laughing. So, so they quietly moved away. But this is true that, he didn't use the word golden, I'm sorry, orange light. So, but he could have well seen golden. I mean, it's all the same. Sri Aurobindo says, now, the true, because we have not seen the original. So it's the same thing, people can dupe you with that this is the original diamond, this is the, original sapphire, because unless one has seen the original, they are perfect in copying it. So all kinds of colors. In her covert lanes, bordering her chance field paths, and by her singing rivulets and calm lakes, everything can be mimicked in the vital, including the calm, including the peace of the Sachidanand. Sri Aurobindo was asked this. He said, everything that you find in the divine, including the peace of nirvana, can be mimicked by the vital world.
And here you find it's almost like earth.
Yeah.
I mean, you have
yes, of course,
lanes and field
many
paths
of these, because
rivulets.
rather what we see on earth is a pattern drawn from there. That's why Sri Aurobindo says earth's greatest art is heaven's copy.
Yeah.
So everything that you find on earth is found in a much more beautiful way in the vital and the subtle physical world. Yes. There you see the original actually. Generally you see distortion here, except once in a while, as today Lyra was pointing out about mother mentioning the rose, and she said it's a fiery rose, and then she said, you don't find such a beautiful thing even in the highest worlds. So there are few things here which you don't find even in the higher worlds. And it's an amazing, of course, there are things which are here which you don't find. For instance, the soul. So there are, and I think, suppose because of that, because Sri Aurobindo has used the word rose as love for the divine or surrender, which are powers and qualities of the soul. So it's quite understandable that one may not find it in the higher worlds, that intensity. He found the glow of her golden fruits of bliss and the beauty of her flowers of dream and muse. As if a miracle of hearts changed by joy, he washed in the alchemist radiance of her sons, the crimson outburst of one secular flower on the tree of sacrifice of spiritual love. What a wonderful line.
How beautiful.
Tree of sacrifice of spiritual love. So what is secular? It is spirituality sacrificing itself to clothe itself in terms which are more human, more understandable to our mind. It has sacrificed itself. Tree of sacrifice of spiritual love. It has annulled itself, hidden itself, and it has taken a hue and a form and an idea which is more comfortable for us. So ultimately in the higher truth they all meet together. So that also we find there in the vital world. In the sleepy splendor of her noons he saw a perpetual repetition through the hours. Thoughts dance of dragonflies on mystery stream that skim but never test its murmurs race. So these dragonflies in the night and along a rivulet or a stream, they come and go, and as if they are dancing over the stream. But they never really touch it or flow with it or go deep into it, though it appears from one end to the other. But that's the image that Sri Aurobindo brings. And that's why some of these images, you see, that is the other part of it. Some of these images do nourish and nurture the life energy in us. And it's because they are projections of the vital world, sometimes of the higher vital worlds. So you sit near a rivulet and hear its sound, it nurtures you. Or you watch this play of dragonflies, or you just look at this a garden with flowers and trees, and it nurtures you.
And mother says, sit against a big
Yeah,
tree.
big tree, and it can nurture you. So that's because basically they contain in their origin, they are creations where the vital has gone very richly into it. Of course, they draw their ultimate breath and creative joy from the spirit, but the forms are typically vital. And so we can actually, when these forms are projected on earth, we can actually enter into something of the vital joy and the vital energy through these. So the age-old remedy to treat all kinds of maladies from tuberculosis to depression by a change of place may well be true. Though nowadays man has gone everywhere and all places are polluted because of man's presence. But I do believe that if one withdraws into seclusion for a while into such places, one comes back rejuvenated because they embody. In nature you go and you feel a kind of a joy because it contains that joy. I love this line, in the sleepy splendor of her noons. He saw sleepy splendor of the noon. And heard the laughter of her rose desires, running as if to escape from longed for hands. Running as if to escape from longed for hands, jingling sweet anklet bells of fantasy. So look at roses swaying gently. So you, as if you want to catch them and they just go away, thereby testing and teasing you.
And you feel it's all ephemeral for us.
Yes, absolutely. So this is how he brings home the entire range of images of the vital world. Amidst life symbols of her occult power, he moved and felt them as close real forms. There it is. In that life more concrete than the lives of men, throbbed heartbeats of the hidden reality. Embodied was there what we but think and feel. So all that we feel takes on an image there. And it's something concrete, like, rose. Love would take a form of a rose. So this is how, and many of these symbols are even used today. Like when we go to people and, gift some of these flowers. They're basically symbols of nature in its creative joy. Self-framed, what here takes outward borrowed shapes. This is what we were talking about. So there it's there as a, almost a perfect reality. Here, borrowed shapes. So what happens, things get smudged. They don't give that kind of feeling. There is a wildness, there are mixtures, but there is hardness. You don't see these roses swaying like this so beautifully, for example. But there you see it. Probably there are roses without thorns. Who knows?
A million notices on one stem.
Yes. So all that you see in that vital world, and they project here. And beyond it, in her highest heights, a comrade of silence on her austere heights. Accepted by her mighty loneliness, he stood with her on meditating peaks. Very powerful lines. Ashupati has gone right up to the top. And now he stands with this power of life, the deity of life, at her very highest. And she's meditating. And what is she meditating upon? She's meditating actually upon the truth, from whom she is drawing all the stores and creating forms. Alas, still in the realm of ignorance. So that's why we have in Indian thought two types of Maya, Vidyamayi and Avidyamayi. So Vidyamayi Maya is that part which is that mother who is still in contact. Both are at the level of the cosmos. or the cosmic self. So she is the one who is still in connection with the oneness. But the avidya maya is someone who is not yet in touch of the oneness but is trying to create oneness because he feels and senses it within. So, you have these two kinds of form makers in Indian thought. So, here she is meditating where life and being are a sacrament offered to the reality beyond. So, what is she doing? What is her tapasya? All these forms she is creating and showing. All these forms she is creating and showing. To get a sanction, a smile, a look, a glance of the divine beloved. And how the divine mother could, like people here, they would make things and take it to the mother. And how the mother could see and know. I think Vasudha Ben recounts this story. I may be mistaken. No, it was Sahanadi or Vasudha Ben. I may have forgotten. But the story is there, which is true. That she had embroidered something and taken it to the mother. And mother liked it very much. She said, this one has been made in a state of offering. So she could make out whether something has been made in a state of offering or it has been made just like I have to do a job and it should be perfect, good looking and just go on and offer.
I think she said even every stitch.
Every stitch has been, yes, that's it. And which was very true. And the person said, yes, this one I had made that way. Yes. So look, the same thing, she's offering all this creative impulsion. Now, what a grand yoga is taking place. And where are we? So life, all this creative splendor is offering to the...
I would like to share a story.
Yes, please.
It was sometime in the mid-60s. I had the inspiration to learn how to hook a rug. And I hooked the rug in Mother's symbol, in blue and white, and sent it to Mother. And Amrita wrote back and he said, Mother was so happy to receive this, she began using it for her feet immediately.
My God.
What a joy that was.
What a joy. So this is her, that's how she draws an urge from there. And saw her lose into infinity. Her hooded eagles of significance, messengers of thought to the unknowable. So, now on the highest peaks, suddenly these eagles are as if emerging out of the unknown, entering into the realm of life. There is a whole creative movement, and again the whole thing is offered back to the infinite, into which she is eventually merging. What a lovely image this is. Identified in soul vision and soul sense, entering into her depths as into a house, all he became that she was or longed to be. He thought with her thoughts and journeyed with her steps. This was necessary for both Sri Aurobindo and the mother. Yes. Mother speaks of many of her experiences in Algeria. She said many of them were in the vital worlds when she had to go through it. Sri Aurobindo himself speaks about many of his experiences in the beginning, which were in the vital worlds. They had to go through it. Yes. Then only they could tell others that, be careful, there is a danger, this is what it means, go this way, go that way. So many dreams people narrated, in the vital world. Even she said that, when you get a punch, it can actually have a physical effect. And Amal Kiran had a black eye. Lived with her breath and scanned all with her eyes. He thought with her thoughts and journeyed with her steps. Lived with her breath and scanned all with her eyes, that so he might learn the secret of her soul. So he is completely now, Ashupati has identified himself. Yes. In fact, he would do it with each plane of consciousness, completely with the cosmic vital. And he knows all the secrets. And that's how he will go beyond. And that's how Sri Aurobindo knew actually the secret about everything. Because he had completely gone through these steps by steps.
And scanned the secrets of the overmind.
That also, that will be much later.
Much later.
A witness overmastered by his scene, He admired her splendid front of pomp and play, and the marvels of her rich and delicate craft, and thrilled to the insistence of her cry. Impassioned he bore the sorceries of her might, felt laid on him her abrupt, mysterious will, her hands that need fate in their violent grasp, her touch that moves, her powers that seize and drive. All these he has seen as a witness who is pulled. It's so difficult. A yogi of the caliber of Ashupati, even he is pulled by them. And he goes, he sees, identifies, and he sees how powerful this vital world can be. You can anytime mistake. Kali, mother says that what people have made of her. This is not the real Kali. These are Kalis in the vital world where you see countless, and people worship. But he sees something more.
Yes.
And that is the lesson.
And this is it. But this too he saw. Her soul that wept within, her seekings vain that clutch at fleeing truth, her hopes whose somber gaze mates with despair, the passion that possessed her longing limbs, the trouble and rapture of her yearning breasts, her mind that toils unsatisfied with its fruits, her heart that captures not the one beloved.
So many forms it creates to embody the one beloved.
Yes.
And she lost in the forms and figures, countless forms and figures, searches for the one beloved on all these.
Yes.
Here, there, maybe here.
Yeah.
But at the end, everything she finds, the joy of discovery, the joy of creation, but misses that one face, the most loved of all. This is a famous line, no?
Yeah.
One face that most loved by all. Forgetting, it's a famous poet who wrote this. Always he met a veiled and seeking force, an exiled goddess building mimic heavens. So this is the irony and the fate or tragedy of this world, and the goddess who is building all this, the creative goddess, who has been exiled from her own highest truth. So she remembers her home and wants to create. She remembers where she comes from. She remembers vaguely a little memory and outline of the face. And she is trying to build it. Always he met a veiled and seeking force, an exiled goddess building mimic heavens, a sphinx whose eyes look up to a hidden sun. So we stop at page 191.